Hello and welcome back. Today we are looking at Hentai Prime, also known as Hydroid Prime. Now before I actually go into the actual build and how I utilise him and various other things, I'm going to go over his rework a little bit, and I'm adding the build slash walkthrough etc onto the rework of him because, well, his rework isn't really that worth mentioning. It hasn't really drawn too much attention for me anyway. Right, what has actually changed with Hydroid? You can press 3, and then from 3 you can go 1, 2, 4. 3 can now be castable while in mid-air, so you can be up really high and or jumping or falling, and you can still press 3 and you land as a puddle essentially. 4 is now chargeable and has got a skin update, and you also summon a squid thing head. It's meant to be the Kraken. It just looks like a friggin' giant octopus. Nothing particularly special, but to be honest, what really annoyed me about that is, well, you summon up this weird squid looking thing, there it is. Guess what it does? Nothing. It does nothing. It appears for a bit and then it buggers off. It does sod all. This is useless, this is pointless, this was not needed. Why the hell DE? Another one that's actually also changed for the third ability and has got quite a few people excited. However, for me personally, this has introduced possibly the most boring tactic and gameplay show ever. Basically, your third ability, the damage increase is done on a percentage base which scales off your power strength. So even if you just keep it at a neutral 100%, you go into your puddle, you could put a level 3000 enemy in that and it would eventually die at an exponential rate, growing faster and faster, purely because, well, say for example you start off with 10 damage and it gains 10% per time. It starts off at 11 and it goes to 12.1. It just goes up from there, and the moment you get into the hundreds, it just starts getting stupid, because it then goes into the thousands, and then it gets even more stupid, and by the end result of it you could literally be sat there ticking millions upon millions of damage. Problem is, you're in this puddle which moves very, very slowly, because you can move now very, very slowly, like pointlessly slowly. So I don't understand the idea behind this so-called rework in inverted commas. It's more of, we know Hydroid is bad, but we've just made him shiny, which is really bad. Anyway, Hydroid, amazingly, he actually can go to a few higher levels now. He's got a pretty good buff to his armor. He's had an energy pool buff, which is also quite nice, and a bit of just generally his abilities do a little bit more damage now. So he actually does kind of feel like a mix between a CC and a DPS frame. I still find him quite hard to place into what one he is. Is he a damage dealer? Is he a CC? It's a bit weird. It's almost like he's able to control and do some pretty hefty damage to a very small area, but that's really it. I find him still quite lacking. He can go quite high, but most of the time you're going to be sat in this frigging puddle because you're invulnerable while in the puddle. You can cast all of your abilities from here, whether it be your 1 ability, your 2 or your 4. Now there was one thing I was quite concerned about. I'm not sure if it was a bug, but I had heard that Curative Undertow no longer heals you. In case you haven't been paying attention to my health bar in the top right, it does still work. Curative Undertow is still a very, very useful survival technique, and for me, arguably his best augment. There are a lot of people that do swear by Corroding Barrage. However, I discovered the importance of high status weapons, and where I like sitting in the void for hours on end, you can guarantee I'm using corrosive. Is Corroding Barrage useful for me? No, it isn't, because I can probably proc corrosive at a faster rate than that ability can. Anyway, along with the fact that I do quite like using the old Tsar on Hydroid because it makes you look more like a pirate. Anyway, honestly, I still pretty much play Hydroid the same. I will be linking my previous Hydroid video to this, maybe you could get a little bit more info. I have changed a few things on the build due to the third ability, the puddle, doing a lot more damage, so I'm no longer in negative. Decreased the range a little bit, because the fourth ability where it is chargeable, that increases pretty much all the stats overall of your tentacle swarm. And he does scale a little bit better. He has been made overly shiny, and a lot of people are having a bit of a Hydroid hype at the moment. You've got a Rework, and the primary was like, oh my god, he's so amazing. Nothing really has changed other than the fact that you can go 3, be immortal, only nullifiers actually being able to hurt you, and then use the rest of your abilities around that. Nothing really has actually changed. I wouldn't even call this a rework, as it has been. Just throw glitter at it, because that's all it's been. So honestly, I'm very disappointed with this, but still, my new build is as follows: Prime Continuity, Vitality, Constitution, Streamline, Curative Undertow, of course, Intensify, Stretch, and Primed Flow. I have not had to form of this, which I've been quite happy with, because honestly, I've kind of gone off Hydroid a little bit, but I've been able to push quite high with this build. But anyway, that's me. Thank you very much, and I will see you soon. Ta-ra!